Now, Human Settlements Minister Thembi Simelane has expressed her disappointment with the choice of location for housing project, formerly in Melmoth in KwaZulu-Natal. The Tubale to Informal Housing Upgrade project is one of the housing projects around the country which has stalled and which the ministry is aiming to complete. The project started in 2012 with the aim of constructing 500 homes but has been delayed as there's no water, road and electricity infrastructure. Some 200 houses in the Tubale to housing project are being occupied, but residents complained to the minister about the lack of services. Simelane expressed concern that the development was on a hilly and sloped terrain which required retaining walls and stormwater drainage to limit the risk of flooding. She says a more suitable terrain would have reduced expenses, but her department is nevertheless determined to finish the project. Minister of Human Settlements Thembi Simelane joins us to expand the conversation. A very good evening to you, Minister. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, in less than a month, you've returned to KZN after visiting flood-hit areas where families lost loved ones. What have you established in your oversight visit on the work that's been done to ensure that the flood victims are properly resettled, particularly as we look at eThekwini?
Thank you very much and good evening to the viewers. We continue with our oversight. We are, as we had said in King Cetshwayo today, tomorrow we are in eThekwini just to make sure that we touch on positively on the lives that were affected by the recent floods. In fact, culminating from the 2022 floods right up to 2025. There are difficulties of blocked projects, but the additional allocation which was made to KwaZulu-Natal by Human Settlement of about 100 million is going to try to unlock the project which we visited today in Melmoth, and also we are going to eThekwini tomorrow. I had hoped that I will expand my stay on Wednesday to the area of Alfred Duma. Unfortunately, we were unable to do that, which is the area around Ladysmith, where they also had block projects, and the province jointly with ourselves are intervening. We would have wanted the projects to be running at a much faster pace, but what gives us comfort is that contractors are on site and we're actually reviewing the work that is being done as we do on a day-to-day basis to ensure that they are concluded better.
Minister, as you review the work that has been done, you do mention that an additional allocation of 100 million rand has been boosted and allocated to the project. But we do know that the department has already allocated 61 million rand for the installation of bulk water services and another 19 million for the construction of water infrastructure in that area. So as we equate some of the money that has already been spent, and my understanding as well is that there are 200 houses that have been built on terrain that they shouldn't have been built on. That in itself raises a lot of questions because money was allocated for some sort of engineering to have assessed the land before houses were even built if it wasn't correct or fit enough for the houses.
Well, yes, I agree with you. The money that has been allocated does touch the 60 million, which will be about the water treatment plant, the reticulation from Pobani Dam right up into the Melmoth area, which will not necessarily be supplying the 200 plus houses that have already been built, but the overall area of Melmoth. As you can see in the pictures, what we call retaining walls that have been built in almost next to the houses to alleviate the soil erosion which could potentially happen during the time of rains. And my view and the view of the provincial department is that this is actually a site that was just not ideal from the beginning. But one finds herself in a position where we've already built around 300 houses with the potential of concluding the project at around 400. So we had to make a very difficult choice of whether to say we'll have to leave those houses never occupied any way, or try to maximize and make use of trying to put mitigation measures that have been granted and given, because the soil is slopey on there by its very own area, and ideally we should have not chosen the site that the municipality and the province in 2012 decided to settle these families.
Yeah,
but
Minister, that just raises red flags.
That,
pardon the interruption, Minister. If you'll allow me, I mean, just going back, yes, at this point in time, you need to find some contingency measures because money has already been spent, houses are already on the land. But surely this leaves room for some sense of accountability, because I assume that the construction companies would have had to bring in an engineer to assess whether or not the land is suitable for houses to be built to begin with. Money was spent. Who is to be held accountable insofar as the engineering of the site is concerned on whether or not it was suitable? Surely that should be an investigation on its own as you try and look forward.
Oh yes, in our, before we do the additional and the verification and of whether additional assessment or additional assistance need to be made, we do also jointly with the province look into what we could have done better, who did not act accordingly in what we were supposed to do. And currently, the province and the municipality, led by MEC Duma, are looking into exactly what happened. What was the study that was conducted? Was it sufficient? Wouldn't it have costed us more? How much did it cost us? And who needs to be held accountable? In fact, this is not the only project in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. You have got one in Alfred Duma, you have got one around the Kokstad area, you have got one in the area of Amajuba. I'm recalling 5 or 6, which as a province and ourselves are looking into them with an intention of ensuring that consequence management, amongst other things, beyond redress, is what needs to take place. But you will understand that this is a project which have got 4 or 5 MECs handed over, the same as mayors as well, from 2012 right up until today. And some of the records are not some of the things that are easily accessible, but the province and the municipality, Mayor Biela, are dealing with that.
And we know that the construction mafia is a phenomenon that found its roots in KZN. Is there suspicions that there may have been some sort of involvement on that front as the investigation continues to establish who to hold accountable insofar as corruption is concerned?
There are 2 sites that the cameraman is showing on these houses. The first site with many houses has been allocated. The site which you see now on our screen, it's about 50 or so houses which are all vacant and have never been occupied. These ones are occupied with families living in them. There was no sign at all of construction mafias. It was just a shortcoming on the side of government, on the allocation and the choice of the site, which had got no electricity connection. Electricity were to pull it far from where the city and the town is. There's no water, which we are pulling it a bit far away, as we will have to do reticulation as well. And also sewer, which is very difficult to be able. Currently, the families are struggling with the issues of blockages and all that. So this was just a badly a choice of a site for a project of this magnitude. And I think that's one of the lessons that we have learned. We need to be able jointly as a concurrent function from national, particularly the province and the local municipality, identify a space that will be easier, habitable, but will stretch the rent further in terms of allocating more people rather than spending on retaining walls, additional funds on drawing water, on infrastructure for energy. This is what my complaint was about with regard to the choice of this site, that the current 38 million that we are spending on the retainer wall, the treatment extra on the roads, could have been spent in building additional houses somewhere else in the province rather than the treatment of the floor. You do see signs a little bit of vandalism there with regard to the roof on the around 70 or so houses that have not been occupied yet, but it's not even escalated. So it was just a bad site with no problems in terms of the contractor and or construction mafias.